remember this as the day you sailed with the Skull Rock podcast. Proceed at your own risk and mark well me words, ladies. Dead men tell no tale.
Welcome to Skull Rock Podcast, the show about all things Disney and pop culture. Every week we take you behind the scenes of some of your favorite Disney films, theme park attractions, performances, books, music, as well as what's streaming, what's playing in theaters, and what's happening in this world of entertainment. I'm Aljon, musician and longtime Disney, Marvel, and Star Wars fan and pop culturist. And you can email me, Aljon, A-L-J-O-N, at skullrockpodcast.com.
And I'm Dave Bossert, artist, filmmaker, and author, and somebody who has sprung an hour forward into the future. Welcome to the Skull Rock Podcast. If you love Disney and pop culture, please subscribe to the show wherever you get your podcasts. You can also like and follow us on Facebook, X, Blue Sky, Instagram, LinkedIn, and our very own YouTube channel, the Skull Rock YouTube channel. You can also email me at dave@skullrockpodcast.com.
All right.
Well, Aljon, you are off to Walt Disney World with the fam.
Yes, we have got Flower and Garden Festival in tow. Cannot wait. Looking forward to seeing some live music, getting the kids around the world, snacking and eating around Epcot, and checking out, hopefully for the first time ever, Dave, the Tron ride. I can't wait. I can't wait.
Awesome.
Can't
well,
wait.
I hope you and Kristen and the kids have a fantastic time.
Yes.
We're going to have a shortened show because of it, but that's okay because when you're back in the saddle, we'll have all the latest updates of what's going on down at Walt Disney World.
You got it. I can't wait. Maybe I'll chime in with some live video I can insert in this podcast from the park. How about that? That'd be fun.
Let's do it. But in the meantime, we want our listeners to know that we're dropping animator storyboard Robb Pratt, and this is part 4 of his interview. This is the final part of his interview, and I hope everybody enjoys it.
Absolutely epic. Sit back and relax and check out our final installment of Robb Pratt right here on Skull Rock Podcast.
Let's do it.
Hey, let's chat.
Let's chat afterwards.
Let's chat. And he said, let's chat again.
Aljon, we are back with part 4 of our conversation with Robb Pratt. Robb, welcome back to the Skull Rock Podcast.
Thank you. I love coming on and talking with you. It's so fun.
You know, I really enjoyed our conversation last week because the theme was create your own opportunity, which is what a lot of us in the industry do. But not enough people do that. But we kind of left off where you had a very successful Kickstarter campaign. You're working on a graphic novel with the artist in the UK, and you're still storyboarding, you're still directing, right?
Yeah. Well, not directing professionally, not right now, but I am boarding. I'm boarding on the Diary of a Wimpy Kid. Series.
Okay.
Yeah,
Fantastic.
And it's work from home, which a lot of people like, but for me, I miss people. I miss the collaboration. I miss the camaraderie. I'm glad to have the opportunity. But that's what it is right now. It does give me time to work on the graphic novel, which is, I guess, a plus too, though.
Let me ask you this. What, in your opinion, is the state of the industry right now? Because it's pretty dire.
Dire here in California, at least. And in my 30 plus years, this is the roughest I've seen it. It's made me even look historically at the industry where I go, gosh, I guess anybody who's had a career for 30 years, no matter where you look at that point, like let's say they started right after Steamboat Willie. Let's say they started 1930 because that's easy, round number.
Yeah.
And they got to 1960. Well, they were going to see some rough times. And I'm seeing really rough times, and it's got a lot of folks down. It's very challenging. It's at the same time, I'm hoping if we all roll our sleeves up and work really hard, maybe 20 years from now, we'll look back on these times and go, boy, I was scared, but those were exciting times. there's parts of the industry that are maybe a little bit the Wild West right now because we all have access to our work being seen. And I'm connecting with artists now, like we mentioned, Des Taylor's in England. I like connecting to people through art. And then, like a musical composer, Andrea Bellucci from Italy, contacted me. Hey, do you need music for Eva Strongbird and the Marine? So now it's like it's already becoming this kind of global project. Now, what I'd like to do is a little bit of a spoiler alert, get the second book out. We'll do a campaign for that. And then I've already kind of whispered to Des, look, I wrote this as an animated movie. If we could even just animate a sequence, it's very, boy, I studied the Indiana Jones movies and how Spielberg, just those cold opens to Indy are so great. And they even influence like the James Bond cold opens where they're always about 15 minutes. I timed them all. They're all great. So I thought, well, if our movie's shorter, a 10-minute, 8-minute cold open for Eva Strongbird would feel in line with Indiana Jones. So I got actors and I recorded the voices, and we already have the drawings from the comic book. I fleshed them out into an animatic. We're going to put music on there. And I'm kind of now thinking, Dave, for our third campaign after the book is done, a Kickstarter campaign. And maybe I can say, I don't know if I can say the word Disney, but I can say, hey, for all the folks who wish Disney would do a 2D animated feature and they're not, I'm going to try to get the band back together. Dave, you're in on this too. You're part of the family. I want to get as much of the team back together because I think that would cause a lot of excitement.
Yeah. No, without question, I think you're absolutely right. But again, Rob, I sit here and I want our listeners to really understand the fact that, talking with you, you're creating opportunities for yourself. You're not sitting back in a corner, wringing your hands, going, "Oh, this is so tough. I don't know if I'm ever going to work again." Instead, you're out there beating the pavement, you're communicating with other artists, you're creating opportunities, and you're working on stuff.
Yeah.
And I think, to me, we're in a period, and correct me if I'm wrong, we're in a period where the window really is wide open to do indie stuff.
Yeah. Wasn't that Flow movie a shot in the arm for all the
Yeah.
indie animators? It won the Oscar. And I thought, okay, well, awards, I'm neither here nor there with awards. The reward is getting to make the next one. And so I kind of looked up the numbers, like how much money did that make? And it wasn't like big move the needle money, but it made more than, I think more than twice its budget. If that lets them make another movie
Yeah.
and independents keep doing these movies at these little budgets, before you know it, someone's going to hit it big. Somebody's going to make that the Blair Witch Project, that cost a few bucks and made 100 million. That will
Exactly.
eventually happen if people keep doing it.
Yeah.
It takes a lot of, like I said, rolling up the sleeves and working hard. And it's hard because a lot of artists, we spend time alone. We spend time drawing alone.
Yeah.
Getting out there and trying to make something happen is a challenge for most of our personalities. So, just hopefully there's people that can, and I'll try to do it, try to rope us all together and get us to do stuff that makes us excited. Because how is, kind of like with my Superman classic, how is anybody going to love our art unless we do it really passionately and with love? And I think that comes through. I think passion is what inspires people.
Oh, without question. I've said this a million times in conversations over the years. Back in the day when they used to hand out paper paychecks, you know, I remember people, somebody would come into my office once a week and hand me an envelope. And I always used to say with a smile, "Oh, I keep forgetting I get paid for this."
Right. I
I was
know.
always having a ball. I was having
Yeah.
fun doing what I loved.
It
And
showed
that
in the
was
films you worked on.
just drawing and animating and having a great time. And to me, that's why you get into this kind of a business.
Yeah.
If you're not that passionate and that excited about it, go look for something else that you are passionate about,
That's right. Yeah.
right?
Absolutely.
But getting back to the state of the industry, what are you seeing? What are you hearing out there? Because I've heard that 30 to 70% of the animation guild is out of work. I mean,
Yeah,
numbers all over the map,
it is pretty dire. I think after seeing this happen for a few years, the conclusion I'm kind of coming to is that I think we all kind of knew eventually it'd be like the Jetsons and we were going to talk over a TV screen and things were going to go global. That was going to happen someday. A lot of people would have put it off because they like the comfort of working the way we always worked. Then the pandemic happens and we were forced to do it. And now we found out really fast, wow, we can do it this way. This might have taken us 10 years to get here. Now we're forced and we know it. And now everything's going more global. And with that, you have different economies and studios that even if they're based in America, they might try to find like maybe we can make it cheaper in different parts of the world. So a lot of the work that we were doing here in California is leaving California, and that's terrifying. And we don't have, like historically, you look at animation, it's always been a tough proposition. Walt Disney was the only one that had like continued success. Some would have, an success here and there, but couldn't continue it. It's always been a hard one. So it can only survive if you've got that vision at the top that is passionate, because the weak stomach folks are going to give up, and we don't really have like that maverick right now that is kind of keeping us all in line, keeping the bar high. We need that person that's like a big vision that is forcing it to stay in certain places.
Yeah, it seems to me that for the longest time, from the 30s onwards, you really had the concentration of the animation industry here in Southern California. I mean,
Yeah,
prior to the 30s, there was an epicenter in New York with the
right,
with the Fleischers and the Bray Studios and all of that. But
right.
but from the 30s on, you really did have this epicenter of the animation industry here in Southern California, and it was very centralized here.
Yeah,
And now it feels like over the really since the pandemic probably, that it's becoming very decentralized.
it is. Yeah,
That there's work in Vancouver, there's work in Toronto, there's work in London. I was in Armenia 2 years ago for an animation festival, and there's just it's such a vibrant animation community and small studios popping up in Armenia.
yeah.
And then you've
Wow.
got all the studios in Taipei, in China, in Thailand, Australia, really all over the world. There's all of these you know, communities that are popping up. So it's very decentralized. And at the same time, technology is allowing us to connect with everyone.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. Except a tiger chasing its tail, huh? Like the
Uh,
technology is making it do this, and
yeah.
it's making this happen because of it.
And the other thing, I talked to one board artist who he just travels the world now. He gets a
Yeah.
call to, go to Prague for 6 months. He just packs his suitcase and goes to Prague, and he works in Prague for 6 months.
Well, yeah.
And then he
Hey,
goes to Taiwan, and then he goes here and there, So
yeah.
I think the last time I talked to him, I think he was going down to Chile, uh,
Wow.
in South America. So, it is really interesting to see what's happening. Where do you see it going?
Boy, I know, huh? That's always the folks that are going to be the most successful are the ones that we all predict the future, and the ones that will succeed were the ones that luckily predicted it correctly. I'm thinking, gosh, to me, it really looks like that with that flow being such an eye opener, that it's just going to be a global thing. And it's all these animators that are, we don't have outgoing personalities because we spend a lot of time drawing on our own. The ones that will succeed are going to be the ones that know how to go out there and kind of push their products and make it happen. That's what I'm trying to do. And it's kind of, like I said, with Steven Silver telling me to film myself behind my desk, that was getting out of my comfort zone. And this is a little out of my comfort zone too, but I'm going to try. And at least it's trying to do something that's fun. It's fun. It's fun trying. And if I fail, at least I had fun, attempting it. but I think global is the way.
Yeah, and I think you're exactly right. You have to build relationships and you've got to ask questions. You've got to
Yeah.
be engaging people, you know. You got to be asking people if they need help on something, you know.
Yeah.
How can we create something together? Look what you did with I'm sorry, the artist.
Des Taylor.
Des, yeah. I mean, it's like, that's the kind of stuff that people need to be out there doing. And I think part of it is you've got to get out there to these expos,
Yeah.
where the community gathers, whether that's Comic-Con or the CTN Expo, which is going on this weekend in Burbank,
Right.
or the Bancrofts Animation Y'all Expo next April in Nashville, Tennessee. I mean, I think you have to, if you're going to be serious about being in this business, you have to be out there and
Yeah.
connecting with people and reconnecting with people that you might not have seen in a while.
Yeah, and I would say just as a fan of this media, a lot of mainstream entertainment is playing it really safe. You know, a lot of companies are so protective of their brand and they're afraid to damage it or whatever. We're artists, we're creative. That's maybe an edge it gives us because we can try to throw that, that Hail Mary. We can take artistic chances. And I think there's an audience there that wants to see. I think it's our duty as entertainers to be creative for people. When I was a kid, I had a rough life. I told you my mom, suffered from mental illness. I loved going to the movies. I loved, boy, it sounds corny, but at the end of the Chris Reeve Superman movie, when the world almost fell apart, California almost was destroyed, Superman came and he saved the day, and you get that great John Williams music plays, and Chris Reeve flies by camera and gives us a smile. Everything's all right, and
Yeah,
flew by. And I loved that, and I needed that as a kid.
yeah.
And I think it's our duty as entertainers to provide creativity to people. And I'm getting a sense a lot of the remakes, a lot of the sequels, they're just not as it's not like the Gen X experience where every summer I got something new.
One thing I want to make an observation about, and this is something that I read the trades. I'm always talking to people. I'm keeping tabs on what's happening in the industry, and my feeling is that and I read an article from one of the big accounting firms that does surveys, and it's where are people getting their entertainment? Where are they consuming it? They're
Yeah.
going to YouTube. They're
Yeah.
wanting to watch independent creators. That's why I
Yeah.
was saying earlier, the window is open for a lot of independent productions.
Yeah.
It can be a 1-minute thing that you do in your living room, and you
Yeah.
just throw it up onto YouTube, onto your own channel. And that's what's so exciting right now, Rob, is that we're in a place where technology has allowed has taken the barrier down, the barrier to
Yeah.
entry. You can, with some free software and a laptop or a desktop computer, you can create your own film.
Yeah.
Whether it's hand drawn and you scan in the drawings and you paint it digitally, or
Yeah.
you create digital animation. But people who are out of work right now need to be allocating a little bit of their time in the
Yeah.
evenings. I get that they've got to get out there and try and find work and stuff like that.
Mhm.
But you know what? Instead of watching television,
Right.
instead of goofing around or sitting in a coffee place with a bunch of people moaning about how bad things are, maybe
Yeah.
spend that time creating your own stuff that you can be throwing up onto social media and start building a name for yourself like you've done.
Absolutely. And we all need to band together and help each other out this is when the artists need to come together.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah.
So what's in the future for you? What are you looking to do? You're storyboarding on stuff right now. You're working on the
Yeah.
graphic novel. Are you looking to get back into the director's seat on a show?
Yeah, if the opportunity came up, I'd be excited about it for sure. And then with all the original stuff, I think I mentioned this 20 years ago. I started animating this car man, the road rage anti-hero,
Yeah.
just a pissed off guy in his car. After all these years, I'm almost done with it. And I've never done the festival circuit. I've never experienced that. So I'm kind of looking forward to for that experience. I want to watch it with an audience, see where I've made people laugh, where I've seen people nod their heads in agreement. So that's definitely the immediate future. And then, the Eva Strongbird plans. I think I'll never stop drawing too. There's just one thing that's like there's good and bad about it taking so long to do animation, but it gets frustrating. It takes so long, but it also lets you craft it. You have so much time to think about it and craft it. And then I have ideas that could take me to the end of time, all the way to the end of the road.
Yeah,
I'd still,
sure.
if I ever wanted to do, I don't want to completely abandon fan films because I do compare it to the Beatles, where you bought one of the first Beatles records and you got 5 songs that were cover songs and 5 songs that were originals. So I wouldn't mind, putting in a little cover song here and there. And Indiana Jones is definitely on the mind because Harrison got older. We're all getting older. You can't
Yeah,
help it.
sure.
But if you draw him, Harrison Ford, it can be Indiana Jones is still in pre-World War II when the world was still kind of exotic and unknown and mysterious. And you can put him in all these different locations that we haven't seen, like a snow adventure or a sunken city adventure. So there's still like fan films that I could always do. I've got, I got an idea for Flash Gordon, and I wasn't even planning this. I made my Flash Gordon in 2015. That's already 10 years ago. Now, yeah, you mentioned YouTube. I watch a lot of YouTube too, so that made a sense to me. There are YouTubers that will tell you on January 1st, "Hey, here's what slipped into the public domain today."
Yes.
And you'll know. And then here's what's coming in the near future. And I see Flash Gordon is only like 4 years away from going into the public domain.
Right.
So I don't know, as I get older, kind of again emulating my heroes, how Walt Disney made a lot of his bones on these old fairy tales because they were public domain. What if, as an older man, I do my original things, but I mix in a Flash Gordon and I'm allowed to because it's public domain?
Right.
So I definitely have my eye on that stuff too.
Absolutely. And the other thing too is that, Walt not only made a lot off of public domain fairy tales, he also used a tremendous amount of public domain music
That's right. Yeah,
to
that's
save
right.
money. To save
Yeah.
money.
Yeah. We were just talking about
The band
Fantasia.
concert, the William Tell Overture,
Yeah.
name one right there,
That's
So,
right. We're on this cusp of all that creativity that happened in the 30s is all going to start becoming available soon.
so what do you see the future of animation being?
Yeah, there are definitely with anything when you're trying to kind of modernize something, even if like when you're making a remake, I'm interested when I said there's too many remakes and sequels, but one thing that's interesting, it's like Monday Morning Quarterback. You can see how something was made, and then just make this better, right? You can improve it. With animation, boy, there's always going to be, I think, a need for funny drawings, no matter how far the technology goes.
Yeah,
People want to see a funny drawing and laugh at it. So
yeah,
I kind of think 2D will always survive in some way, shape, or form or another, as long as it's entertaining. So people will just have to keep track of like what is an advancement and what is timeless. And just remember like the timeless things, making somebody laugh, making somebody feel something, and then embrace the technology. Have your foot, in both. Like I got to remember the things that have always worked, that always will work, but I've got to be open enough in my mind to accept the new stuff too.
sure. Sure. Look, I think animation, regardless of the technique you're using, is still an art form,
Yeah.
and I don't believe hand-drawn's going anywhere. I think, there's a lot going on in the indie world, with people
Yeah.
doing hand-drawn stuff. There's, earlier this year, there was the Goofy movie documentary. And
Yeah.
there's sequences in there that are animated 2D,
Right. Brand new.
that are really well done, that are
Yeah.
basically illustrating, a story meeting that wasn't recorded or
Yeah.
or captured, and they're recreating that for a portion of the documentary. I thought that worked incredibly well,
Loved it too.
you
Very
know,
entertaining.
and I'm still looking towards the future of saying somebody is going to do a beautiful 2D animated film,
Yeah.
that's, obviously gonna be, technology assisted, but it's still gonna be a hand-drawn film, and they're gonna do it on a shoestring budget, and it's gonna go out there and blow the doors off the box office, and what's gonna wind up happening is you're gonna have some executive running down the hallway at a studio going, "I've got a brilliant idea, we've gotta do a hand-drawn
Right.
feature."
There's always that hope for a renaissance, like it happened historically and
Yeah,
even in for our industry in animation, and you were part of it. I was just on a call just before this with some friends, and they asked like my favorite Disney movie I got to work on. And it's hard to pick, but one thing I did say about Tarzan was that I had seen in history books where Walt wanted to get away from the rubber hose animation, and then they brought in live deer to draw for Bambi, and there was this renaissance of ideas and just explosion. And then as time passed by and the nine old men were retiring, Walt passes away, that kind of went away until that magical 80s class of Cal Arts folks. And I think
yeah.
you were part of it, Dave. And you dug into the archives, you loved the history. And then so when we got to work on Tarzan, they brought in a live chimp for us to draw. And they gave us zoo passes to draw apes. And it felt like you were carrying on a tradition that had been long dormant.
And back on Lion King, they brought in tiger cubs,
Yeah.
excuse me, lion cubs, and all of that. So and that's still going on.
Yeah.
I mean, you look at somebody like Aaron Blaze, who's his Snow Bear short is in the festival circuit right now. It's all
Yeah.
kinds of accolades. I saw some things he posted. He was at the zoo drawing. I don't know if he was doing a class or something, but he's drawing, animals. And the easiest thing for anybody to do in any city is just go to your local zoo,
Yeah.
you
Yeah.
know? So,
Yeah.
but
And so if
yeah,
that renaissance happened, if some people dug up what was from the past and they revived it, I always have hope that it can happen again and again and
and it
again.
will, and it will.
Yeah.
It's going to happen over and over because the business goes in cycles. I think one of the reasons why the industry is so bad right now for people, and there hasn't been a lot of work, is because the streamers, all the studios with their streaming services, it was an arms race,
Yeah.
from the pandemic forward until there was the actors and writer strikes, and all of those streamers have pulled back, and they're trying to figure out what the business model is and
Yeah.
what the budgets need to be for new content. So I
Mhm.
think we're kind of coming out of the thaw, if you
I hope you're
will.
right. Yeah.
I think they're starting to loosen the purse strings, and they're gonna start to spend again on content, but be more selective and not just, throw gobs and gobs of money out to people,
Yeah.
but are gonna be willing to take chances on newer talent. Hopefully,
Yeah.
what I
And then
hope.
I see Tubi as a huge streamer because it's free and they're just ad based. It's like, whoa, the old system actually still works.
It's like linear television,
Yeah. Yeah.
so but yeah, I definitely look, linear television is dying. There is a whole new model. There's been a sea change in the industry, and I think people have to not fall into a negative mindset. You know, I think they
It's
have to.
challenging, but yeah.
Yeah, I think you have to be looking out in the world and keeping a positive outlook and looking for the opportunities, but also trying to create opportunities for yourself,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
I think that's really the big thing that a lot of the folks that are struggling right now need to sort of look at. They need to sort of get out of that negative mindset.
Yeah. And then when you strike out on your own, it's inspirational to know Walt Disney bankrupt what three times. before he ended up, getting lightning in a bottle.
Yeah, and also danced up to, like where he just put everything on the line and it worked
Hmm.
out. But and if it didn't, he would have gone under.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
he had to hawk his life insurance policy, but for Disneyland.
Yeah.
He was trying to get money everywhere he could find to
Yeah.
finance the park.
Yeah.
So I think we could look back at history and take inspiration from all of that, but not live in the past. Look forward to all of those great opportunities, and you mentioned crowdfunding with a Kickstarter. There's great opportunities for people to do that. It doesn't take a lot to get a Kickstarter campaign going.
Right.
There's opportunities for getting your work up on social media, setting
Mhm.
up your own YouTube channel. There's some, and for those people who sit there and say, I don't know how to do that, I say go figure it out, right?
That's right.
Go learn it,
Yes. Yeah,
because
absolutely.
that's what we've all done.
Yeah.
We've
I,
all
you
done
know,
that.
when we did meet with the Kickstarter, and I don't want to make this a plug for the Kickstarter thing,
No,
although they were
please
great
do.
to us.
By the way, please do.
But there's lots of crowdfunders, but it was eye-opening experience just to join it. And I kind of was saying they had a consultant talk to us and let us kind of guide us how the campaign works. And right away I mentioned, well, I don't know, comic books don't really sell anymore. I want this to be animated someday. And then he corrected me. He said, no, we actually do very well on comic books. And so now I see that it's a lot like they have skin in the game, so they're going to promote stuff that they think will do well.
Yeah.
And it's just like Disney Plus, we all want to be on that banner space to get discovered.
Yes.
It's the same thing for Kickstarter. You have to make them excited about your product so you'll get all that stuff. And so I would see, even on our Eva Strongbird in the Marine page, I'd look at the bottom and it had like 6 little thumbnails of other campaigns. And it looked to me like there were comic book artists that's their full-time job. They do a Kickstarter for this issue, and then in a few months they do another Kickstarter for the next issue, and it looks like that's how they're doing it. Like that's their career now.
Oh no, absolutely, without question. They're making a living doing it, and they're selling hundreds of thousands of dollars worth of comic books.
Yeah.
So
And then they could be super creative, where
yeah,
I think Marvel and DC, all the mainstream ones, have to be a little conservative and a little worried about brand fatigue or brand or hurt harming the brand. These are creators that don't have that fear. They can
they,
really put
they
it
can
out
do
there,
whatever they want.
and
Exactly.
people are responding. They want art that kind of says something and is bold.
Yeah. So, where can people find out about your Kickstarter campaign?
Gosh, if you do a simple Google search for Robb Pratt, Eva Strongbird in the Marine, you'll find a lot of stuff there. If you go on the Kickstarter page and do a search for the same thing, you'll find our page there.
Eva Strongbird and the Marine.
Yeah.
Okay.
And if you missed out on that previous Kickstarter, we will have a second one. We're kind of hoping for spring. And like I said, the story is beaded out. The story gets bigger. There is a theme. There is something that the characters learn. There is a statement that it's making about the human experience,
Yeah.
wrapped up in a lot of retrofuturism fun. The short pitch is that Eva had a horrible life before World War II. She never wants to look back after this war. She is future forward, and that informs everything about Eva. She has a device that looks like a World War II answer to the iPhone. She has a ray gun. She has things that hint at the atomic age. She runs into the Marine, who is the opposite. Like, what are you talking about? The world was perfect before this war. I was set up to be a baseball player for the New York Yankees. I'm here to fix this war because I want things to go back exactly the way they were. And that's where these two philosophies butt heads, and maybe they learn something from each other, and maybe they have to work together to save the day, not to give too much away. But it's definitely, it has a statement about the human experience, but it's wrapped up in this fun retro futurism, World War II, Indiana Jones kind of setting. And where Indiana Jones has magic, which is great, they open the ark and spirits come out of it. We didn't want to rip that off, but we do have retro futurism where our magic is kind of wrapped up in Eva Strongbirds technology that's advanced for its time.
Awesome. All right. Rob, I can't tell you how much of a joy it has been talking with you these last 4 weeks.
I had a blast too.
It's just been fantastic, and you're a perfect example for people who are currently trying to figure out what to do in the industry, because you are creating your own opportunities. You are connecting with other artists. You are creating things that you're putting out in the world. And that's what every artist should be doing. And there's no excuse not to, because you can learn how to do all of this stuff very easily. So with that, I'm going to say good luck with Eva
Thank you.
Strongbird and the Marine,
Thank you.
which people can find on the Kickstarter platform, or they can Google you, Robb Pratt, on the Google search platform. And I just wish you the best of luck. I appreciate you coming on to the Skull Rock podcast, and I look forward to catching up with you again in the future, especially if you've got something to promote, like the second comic book.
Yes, that would be wonderful. Yeah.
Just let me know.
Awesome. I'm so honored that you included me on this, Dave. Thank you so much. And it's been just a pleasure to talk this stuff and get to know you better, too.
My pleasure. It was great talking with you, and we'll see you soon.
All right. Take care.
Bye-bye.
Let's get out of here!
Come on, Scotty, let's get out of here. Let's get out of here.
Let's get out of here. Let's get out of here, Lieutenant.
All right, Dave. The final part, the quadruple episode arc, is finally come to conclusion. Robb Pratt right here on Skull Rock Podcast. Dave, how was it for 4 parts with Rob?
I honestly, this was a really wonderful conversation with him. It was a joy to talk to him, not only about his career and everything, but just because he has such a great positive attitude and he's such an enthusiastic individual. He's really making his way in the world, and he's making projects for himself, and he's putting himself out there. And that's what you have to do in this business.
Absolutely. And his energy is infectious, and I look forward to hearing more from Rob in the future. Be sure to follow him. Links will be in our show notes. All right, Dave, thank you so much, gang, for checking out our show till the very end. If you love what you heard, please feel free to subscribe to us everywhere you find podcasts. However you stumbled upon us, subscribe. We also have this up-and-coming YouTube channel, which is great because then you get to see Dave and me talk about all things Disney and pop culture. Subscribe today to our YouTube channel and tell all your friends about it. Leave us those 5-star reviews and those comments. They help keep the show going and in front of more people. You can follow me, Aljon Go, on Instagram, and you can also check out the other show that I'm on, Dining at Disney Podcast. We host new shows every single week. Check us out on YouTube as well. Dining at Disney Podcast, everywhere you find podcasts. And I'll also send a shout out to our friends at Sorcerer Radio, all Disney music all day long at srsounds.com. Dave?
Well, Aljon, as I've been talking about for the last couple months, Animation Y'all Expo Nashville, it's coming up fast and furious, April 10th to 12th. Tickets are going hot and heavy.
Yes.
That's all I could say. Check it out online. Get your tickets. We'll see you in Nashville the weekend of April 10th to the 12th. You can also hear me on the Tunes Behind the Tunes on SiriusXM, Disney Hits, Channel 133. Also, if you're interested in any of my books, you want autographed copies, theoldmillpress.com is the place to go. Go to theoldmillpress.com. You can also get author-signed copies of newly released The Art of John Canemaker, An Animator's Garden by John Canemaker, and, of course, A Spoonful of Sugar, the story of the Upjohn Pharmacy at Disneyland by Stephen Hall. That's right, drugs at Disneyland. It happened. It was a thing.
Yeah.
And you can also visit my website, davidbossert.com, and there's plenty of free content to read about Disney history, film, animation history, as well as free stuff to send away for. And with that, Aljon, I'm going to say go out. Everybody have a fantastic week. Be kind to one another, and we'll see you back here next Monday right here on the Skull Rock Podcast.